All right. Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Hour. Today is another figuring out my book episode. And I really like doing them in the middle of the week because, things are in full swing. There's a lot of learning from the week before. In the middle of the week, I get to like really assess what's going on. Right now, so much going on. I know COVID, New York City's just reopened gradually, but people are out there. Hopefully, people stay safe with the second impending wave of the prediction of a second impending wave. And I just really, as I look at technology and all the stuff I'm working on, right, like predictions, what AI is and statistics, right, like this second wave. If you look at prior history, it's very easy to predict that there will be a second wave. So you want to like take as much care of yourself as possible. Stay inside if you can. Just see. Let's see how the second wave hits. For anybody who's not as careful. So I got a lot of stuff going on right now. Working on rebranding, making a website for Meta Bronx. I am working on an algorithm for a self a bootstrap company that we're startup that I'm creating with a few co-founders and friends that I've known for a long time, investors too. Um, Working on Mass Ideation has gotten a bunch of projects in this COVID time. Right now, I'm working on a nonprofit. Bronx Exchange is working on a website that will allow business owners from the Bronx to identify what kind of programs, loans, grants are available to them because this stuff can get overwhelming. It could be a lot of um, of information to find. Andrew, can you DM me that mintbase.io? Tell me what it is too. Um, so I'm working on a presentation for one of the biggest beauty brands, an internal conference presentation. Um, so I'm working like a savage, and then on top of that, I do a daily show. I'm working with investors to look at companies. I'm working with companies to look at investors. And then on top of that, I've been really figuring out how to help more people with their ideas. So if you listened before, I'm coming up with this thing called My Ideas Academy or My Idea Academy. Whichever you think sounds better, let me know. Well, I'm gonna like make a group, a closed group where people that are really trying to make things happen, we're in there trying to figure out how to help each other. So I'm figuring out how to do that right now. I want to make it a closed group where it doesn't just get anybody who's not really serious. So I'm trying to figure out if it's $1, $5 a month to be in there because if it's free, you're gonna get a bunch of people who are just gonna be wasting people's time. Um, and $5 is not gonna really make me money, but it's gonna keep out that line of serious and not serious. So I'm working on all that. But as I'm doing all that, why all this makes sense for this book episode is at the same time I'm listening to this book called Subscribed, which is basically talks about how the next version of business is going to be subscription models, right? And if you think about it, it's not even really the next version. It's kind of what's already happening. If you think about it, like cable companies were subscription companies. And I thought even something this morning. Your job is a subscription. Think about it. If you're basically, your boss is paying you a certain amount a month for you to show up and give that person that value. So subscription models have always been a thing. It's just now they're really being reinvented in a way where I do believe is the future of business. And I'm trying to figure out how to use it in every business I'm involved in, including Mass Ideation, which is mostly like a one-off consulting company, right? So I've been having conversations with people that work with me internally on how maybe to do that. But then for this My Ideas thing, that's where I hope my whole why, and even for this book, is I want to help as many people make their idea as possible. How to do that? How can you do that? Spend the most time on it is you have to be able to cover your bills doing it, right? So, how can I cover my bills helping people that in the beginning can't really afford to pay me, right? So that's where I'm thinking about the subscription model. So imagine if I had 1,000 people giving me $10 a month, and and few other people are helping them with their ideas. 10,000 a month is not a lot of money for a group of people to work, but if you get that to 2,000 people, 3,000 people, and let's say it's not $10 a month anymore, let's say it's $20 a month. God, I left the hard drive in your office yesterday. Check on the table in the corner. Um, so I have so many subscriptions. Yeah, so the subscription model, I believe, is the future. Even so, Gob, he's a music artist. He manages artists. I believe even in that world, subscriptions are the future, right? Instead of saying come to a concert every now and then, pay X amount a month, and have access to this artist. And I'll talk to you more about that, Gob. But so the idea of how to take this book and add the subscription idea to it was business models, right? In the book, I don't know if I was going over business models. I'm looking and I didn't have it. So business models is a big part of how your company's gonna make money, right? Like if you are creating this idea, it needs revenue, right? So business models are a big part of it. So now listening to the subscription book, it really is opening my eyes on this section of the book where I say here's the current business models. One of the current business models is freemium, right? Freemium is like most of you watching right now. If you're either on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, all of these platforms are free, right? Why are they free? What is the business model? How do they make money? How does Facebook make billions of dollars, right? They don't charge you for using it, but they use your data to sell to advertisers. And they make a lot of money doing it. So the more people that use their app, the more money they have from advertisers, right? Because if you can tell an advertiser, hey, let's take it in app format. We go back to Uber hot dog, my idea that I'm slowly figuring out for the book. It's not gonna be a real idea, but so for Uber hot dog, it can't be free because there's this physical, like you're gonna buy something physical. So there's no way it can be free, right? There has to be a service fee on top of the cost of the item that you're buying. So if you're buying a hot dog and the hot dog costs this business $1, let's say that, then we have to add a service fee for the overall company that has the app, that has all these services. Then we have to pay the person delivering it. So that's how you start to accumulate the cost to come up with a business model, right? So that's one business model. That's the business model Uber's using, Airbnb's using, a lot of them. Then there's the freemium model, which is where the social media companies are using. The Google is huge with it. Think about Gmail. Before Gmail, email cost money, right? Like there's a cost to it because you have to have servers. Servers cost money. You have enough bodies on a server, then it costs a lot of money. So how does Google pay that? Google pays that by looking at your emails and giving the data to advertisers and telling advertisers, hey, Miguel seems like a technology guy that is working with startups. He spends a lot of time in the Bronx. So now all this information, an advertiser's like, ooh, perfect. I can sell Miguel Yankee tickets, whatever, right? Because I'm in the Bronx, whatever. So an advertiser will pay more for that because it's targeted. They know that I'm more likely to want what they are selling because they have data on who actually buys things. So if you see, so this is big for a business, is let's say you put out an app and then you say, okay, I see mostly women 30 to 32 are buying from me, and they happen to be Asian. Okay, now I'm going to spend money on advertising to 30 to 32-year-old Asian women. Why? Because I know they are turning into customers for this business. So on these social media platforms, they know, okay, you want to promote your business to Asian 30 to 32 women? Here's unlimited of them because they're on my platform for free. As much money as you want to spend targeting them, you can. If you want to spend $1 million today in one day on Facebook, you can. That's how they make their money. They don't make their money from trying to charge people to come on their website. Let's say we use a different business model for Facebook. And there's multiple. I'm gonna take Facebook and I'm gonna bring multiple business models to it. All right, first model is freemium. I just told you about it. Second model is subscription. What if Facebook told you you're not gonna see any ads, but you got to pay $10 a month to use Facebook? How many people do you think would you still use Facebook if they charge $10 a month? Put it in the comments, please. Let me know. Would you still pay? Would you still use Facebook if it costs $10 a month? How about this? I'll sweeten the pot. Would you pay $10 a month to use Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp together? So for $10, you can use all three of those apps. Would you? I would say I would. I would have to, as for what I do. But I don't know if as many people would be on these platforms if that was the case. But then you look at something like Netflix, right? Of course, there's YouTube. There's different free ways of getting content. Netflix takes a subscription model, and their business model is built around constantly giving you content to make you want to resubscribe, right? So one thing I've noticed, I got kids, I subscribe to Disney Plus. Disney Plus Smart. They're like, oh, for cheap, buy it for a year. Because they don't have that much content. That's crazy to say, right? It's Disney. How could they not have that much content? The thing about the Disney business model when it comes to online is most people have seen all those movies. So if I subscribe to it, I've seen most of what is on there. And they're not coming up with enough new things to compete with a Netflix. So Netflix, during quarantine, I swear to God, it felt like they were dropping 5 things a day. Freemium, take your data. I know. So like Andrew's saying, they're selling your data, which becomes another opportunity for a business model, right? Which is a business model I am really, really trying to figure out. It's in the super early stages of the world figuring it out. So I got my work cut out. That opportunity is, imagine, all right, so we have the first version of Facebook, which is what is this now? It's freemium. Second version of Facebook is pay monthly to use it. Third version of Facebook, I believe, is whoever comes up with this will dethrone Facebook, and maybe it is Facebook that does it, is paying you for your data. So let's say, again, I keep it free. I'm Zucker Sanchez. I say it's free to use, but you are going to make money off every dime I get in advertising towards you. So let's say, I told you my scenario. I'm tech startups, sports, Bronx, right? So that's my information Google knows about me from reading my emails, seeing my search history, seeing my chat data, all that data that they're giving me all these products for free. They're taking, and even this video right here, they're going to transcribe the audio, see what I'm saying, run ads against it eventually on YouTube. And at least on YouTube, they do share in the profits with creators once they get to a certain level. Most people never get to that level, though, and they're just raking in the dough. So imagine if I said, I'm going to tell you, be as transparent through blockchain, how much money has been given to me for your data. So okay, Miguel, you're in the Bronx, you're sports startups. For startup searches that we've got startup companies to pay us, we have made $1,000 off your data. We're gonna give you $500 of it, $300 of it, $1 of it. Right now, they're not giving us anything. But the reason why I believe that is the future business model, and I'm gonna put it in the book, is because look at what we just went through the past 3 months. The past 3 months we have been home. Most people don't have the work I have that I can still do it remote. They haven't been able to work. So what has been happening? Remote work has sped up automation. I've been hearing stories upon stories upon stories about companies eliminating jobs over this quarantine because they don't want to get caught in this situation again. So they had the money to automate, they did automate. Companies literally going from 100 employees to 5, right? So what happens in that situation where companies keep automating? Even last Friday, I had a guy on my show, Renee, check the show out. He was talking about eliminating jobs in video production. All these jobs are going to get slowly downsized where you don't need as many humans. What happens to everybody else? They're home. They're home watching Netflix on Facebook. There's talk about universal basic income. That means the government is going to be able to say, here, $1,000 a month, live off that. And it's up to them to tell you how much you can live off. And if you don't have a certain set of skills, you're limited to only that option. That's another reason why I push technology so much. Like, if you're not one of these people creating the automation or being able to work in that environment, you're pretty screwed. So, data might be our only valuable thing that we can make money from eventually. And shameless plug, my description, my TED Talk talks about this. Tedx Talk. So that is another business model. So these business models are all based on how you treat the customer, right? In the freemium model, you are somewhat being disingenuous to the customer in a way because they believe it's free, but realistically you're making a lot of money off their information, and you don't fully even understand how much information you're giving away to these companies. And trust me, I know I'm building products. I get it on both sides. I understand. Yeah, but then you wouldn't get the user base. So it has to be some type of balance, right? Where you somehow give people back some of that value you're getting off their data. And I tell you, I haven't figured it out. I'm trying though. The business model of charging up front is the ideal, right? Because it is, people are paying up front for what you're giving. You're able to give it to them ad free, distraction free. You don't have to sell their data because they are paying you to use it, and you're able to not have to sell it to other people. You are able to use it. So that's why Netflix does so well. Netflix knows what you want before they even like write a script. The data they see of usage based on you and millions of other people, they know this show is going to be a hit with the Miguels, the Andrews, the whoever, right? Because the data is showing they watch this type of show. So now I just got to put it in front of them enough times. They'll watch it, and I'll get my money back. Right? So that is the ideal. The pro. So all right, let's take pros and cons. Freemium, the pro is people get in. So I'm gonna take pros on all levels actually, and cons on all levels. The pro for the customer is you get to try it without paying, and if you like it, you can continue using it without paying. The pro on the business inside is you get easier traction, meaning you get more customers easier because you don't have to make them pay for anything. So they just get in there, they try it, if they like it, they use it. So then there's the internal business, right? If you think about the internal business, there's pros and cons to that model too. The pro of freemium in the business backend is you have much more data to learn from faster, right? Because you have people just coming in and using your app, and you're learning from it, and you're using the data. You may be selling the data. Okay, sorry for that extended commercial break. I don't know what happened to my internet. See, but this is a key example of subscription, right? With subscription comes expectations, right? I pay Fios a lot of money every month, right? And to get top speed, I expect that not to happen, right? So I'm upset because I'm paying top dollar and I don't get what I paid for. So subscription models subscription models have a different level of expectation, right? So, for instance, the Disney, right? The Disney, right? My expectation is if I'm paying a subscription, you're going to update the content, not just show me the same movies I saw as a kid, right? Like, so that's where Netflix wins because Netflix continuously acquires more content, creates more content constantly. Their business model is built on it. So I believe before the internet went down, I was doing pros and cons of the business types, the business models. All right, so let's to recap. Freemium Pro brings in more customers faster. Con, you have to figure out how to make money off those people to sustain. So that means you got to figure out how to make money around them, not off of them. So that means you have to sell their data most times or use their data to sell to them, right? From the internal side of the business, you have to be able to survive longer without money, right? So that's a con. So on the pro side, you have more data that comes in that you can learn from. The con is, so for instance, I always remember a story from from YouTube, which most of you probably are watching right now, right? And YouTube, the guys who made YouTube made a website where people can upload video for free. Back then, video was super expensive to host, like super duper expensive to host. So YouTube was free. So they had to max out not only each one of their and their employees' credit cards, but everybody in their family's credit cards to continue paying this hosting bill that was growing enormously every month. And then they would sell to Google, actually. This book is about entrepreneurship. My book is, I'm trying to figure out how to help. So someone's asking from Twitch, what is the book about? My book is going to be about helping people create their ideas. So if you have a good idea, now what? What do you do? So right now I'm going over business models. So you're a wealthy billionaire trying to spend some money. Watch some of my content and I'll show you some places to spend some money. Okay. So pro con of freemium, I went through it. Pro, people coming fast. Con, you have to figure out how to make money around them, not off of them. Pro internal business is you have a lot more data to learn from faster. Con is you need to figure out how to fund this idea while you figure out how to make money. So Facebook famously raised a shitload of money. YouTube, like I said, they were putting their credit cards on the line, and then they got someone to buy it. And of course, they were raising money along the way. But the key to any business, you want to own as much of it as you can, right? How many copies can you get? As many as you want. As soon as it's launched, send me your email and I'll send you. Okay, so now we take subscription. Pros and cons of subscription. Pro to subscription is you have money coming every month and you know how much money you have coming every month. So that's huge. So like for Netflix to know every month they have, let's say they have 1 million subscribers paying $10. That's $10 million a month. So now they know, okay, I can spend money on content. I'm going to spend $50 million on this show. Because I know next month I'm gonna get another 100 million. You know what I mean? So it's a good way of understanding your revenue and using it. And a lot of companies have switched to this model. There is Adobe, even Amazon. Think about what Amazon Prime is subscription. You're paying $100 a year to get free movies, shipping, all that. The easiest way to make money is to be born into it. Not wrong. But there's opportunity. The best opportunity has never been better to make an idea happen and make money because of technology, no matter where you're from. So, pro, you have money coming in. Con, on the customer side, is cost money to get in. So that means you're going to get less people in, right? So I know people with subscription TV channels. They don't get nowhere near the kind of money that Netflix does, right? They're getting maybe a few bucks here and there off of their subscriber base, right? But the problem there is if you're not creating enough content, you lose those subscribers. So that's a con, right? It's another con. You need to create a lot of value to keep the customer, right? So that's a little bit on the internal. That's that con, because now if you think about it as a business model, and you say, let's say I take Mass Ideation, my consulting agency, and I say, how can I create a subscription model that I give to brands? Okay, we do apps, web, animation, all these things. What if I told them, okay, give us $50K a month and you get $50K of you get $60K of services, right? I have to internally figure out how to either do that stuff for cheaper to keep the margin or make less margin, right? But the idea is with more volume of that type of client, you have more revenue you can depend on, and then you lower costs in other ways. Maybe you hire people, which is like you hire more people to be full-time employees where their cost is less to you than paying vendors or freelancers. And again, that comes back to my original point, which is a job is a subscription to their boss. They're paying for a certain thing from you every month, and as soon as they can't get that anymore, they just don't pay it. Right? So same as us. And that's super interesting. I thought about this morning, right before the show. So subscription model, pro and con there. So there was freemium, subscription, pay for data. All right. So now pro con of pay for data. Pro, everybody wins, right? There's no trust issue. There's no reason to screw over your customer base, right? Like it's true though. In the environment of a freemium model, you're just put in positions where you may need to make a decision to survive that's not in the best interest of your users. Like look at right now what's going on with Facebook. Facebook doesn't want to impede on free speech, meaning they don't want to call Donald Trump out on lies. Because, why do you think that is? Because they know a lot of Republicans are on the site constantly going back and forth, creating all this nonsense mess, and that makes them money. And they have board members that are Republican. Peter Thiel's a Republican. He doesn't want you to shut that down. But some of this stuff is complete lie, and it's like, how do you allow your users to receive lies through your platform and are okay with that? You're in this position because now you need them to make money. If you cut out, and Twitter actually, I actually think Jack Dorsey's doing the best job of any CEO right now, tech wise. He said, "I don't care. I'm going to call lie a lie. If it's a lie and it's false, I'm going to call Trump on it. I don't care who it is, and we're going to stop sharing and allowing people to disseminate this information that's wrong and it's a lie, and then it puts the American public in a bad situation." So, but Twitter is in the same business model, right? You don't pay for Twitter. But that CEO made the decision to make less money and say, look, I'm not going to profit off of lies on my platform. Zuckerberg didn't do that. And that puts him in a interesting position. So paying people for the data means you don't have to make decisions like that. If you're paying people for the data and a bunch of people want to lie on the platform, you just take them off the platform. If your platform is about lies, though, which I'm sure somebody's gonna actually, there are platforms like that. I'll call them some news organizations. But even that's a slippery slope, right? Because both sides believe the other one is a lie machine, right? When do we get to the point where we can actually believe an organization, trust an organization, right? Especially a news organization, and both sides believe that. I don't know how we get there. Actually, I am kind of working on a way to do that long term, but the way I believe is to control every aspect of the news. So the reason the news, as a business model, benefits from lying or raising fear is because they make their money off advertising. It's freemium. Sure, you're paying for cable. You're paying for the cable subscription to bring cable into your house. Then each one of those channels have to fight for your eyes. So, what do? Some make good shows. Some are news organizations that know by the more fear, the more people will come watch. So they create more fear and get more advertising money. So the benefit of telling stories that are not so fearful or feel good are they're not shared as much. They're not interacted with as much. They're not bringing as much viewership. So it's bad for that business model. The business model is literally built to constantly generate more fear, right? Imagine if they switched to screw paying cable. I just pay for the news organization I want. But then on every level, see, on the internal and the external, on every level, we get to be more diplomatic about the content we show. So when I say I'm working on something for the future of hopefully trying to fix that, it's if you're a news organization that's looking for fear or things that that generate views, you're not necessarily looking for the best things that humanity is up to. So where does that start? It starts from the content. It starts from seeing what is out there content-wise and showing it. Right now, certain types of content make more money because they show more people come to see it. So for instance, there's this Netflix show called, I think, Stringer, where it's people who record people in accidents, dead. Why is that? That is stuff that gets people to watch news. It's like a car wreck when you're driving on the highway. Everybody slows down to watch it. Same idea. Put it on the news, though. Now people are going to want to watch it. And that's going to up our revenue and ads, which is our business model. But there's organizations like New York Times now where they're trying to come up with a subscription model that says it's not about advertising, it's about good content. So you pay $10 a month, I don't know exact, and we're going to give you good content that is the best thing we can possibly create for your well-being. Doesn't have to do anything about, does this get us more views? Is this quality information? It's early, and I don't know. They talk about it in the book Subscribed. I don't subscribe to New York Times, so I don't know. That's the big thing about subscription, right? It makes it so a lot less people will interact with your product, but the ones that do, they have more long term customer value, which is a huge term in business. So I look at all of these things, and I just think if you're creating an idea, you need to pick a business model that you believe works. Freemium, subscribe. I guess pay as you go is another one I didn't go up to. I didn't talk about. Pay as you go is when people just pay as they use. And that is in a way subscription adjacent, right? Give me 1 second. 1 second. So why I say that subscription adjacent is because think about mass ideation. Mass ideation is a pay as you go business model. Client comes to me, says, Miguel, we need this. I say, okay, it's going to cost this for us to do it. They pay me that. They get that. Pay as you go. Pros and cons to pay as you go is one off. You don't know what your next month can look like because that client may not need anything next month. And now you got to look for other clients. So you also constantly have to look for more pay as you go customers. Where subscription, why I say it's adjacent, is if I could convince, and agencies do this, that's retainers, right? Give me a retainer for X amount a month, and I will give you this amount of work. And now I know every month I can count on this amount of money to be in my bank account so I can pay these employees and profit this much. The con to that, and I've seen it working at agencies, is sometimes the brands ask for a lot more than their retainer allows. So what do you do in those situations? You don't want to lose the retainer, so you eat the cost, and that could eventually kill a business. The pro for the brand is I know I have this group of people constantly working on my stuff and making my stuff better faster because they're already very used to working with us. The con to that is not as much diversity in ideas and different types of expertise. Because if you're paying this agency and they're experts in this, you may not even know about something else that exists because they don't do it. So part of what I've been saying about mass ideation, me figuring out this business model of, is not around having a retainer with brands for work. It's more about having a retainer with brands or whoever around strategy in a way. Like the idea is if you get the right minds, you can save a lot of money. Like, because where it's going, production, now we look, everything's remote. So what does that mean? If you have a developer in New York City where his rent or her rent is 5 times what it is of another developer in another part of the world, that developer is going to cost more money for me and for the brand. But now, and it's been happening for many years already, these brands are working with people in other countries because it's cheaper. They come to America, the American companies, one, for the ease of working, two, for the actual expertise of understanding that market, right? So if you are trying to advertise to people in New York City and you hire a company in Taiwan, how would they know how to advertise? So you have to have people that understand. So that's again strategy. So and then it can be like, okay, here's how you should do it. Here's where you can do it. We'll even help you vet the vendors. You don't have to use us. But we'll show you what to do so you don't get, so your project gets made. And if you want us to help as a consulting agency, we'll help you manage the vendors. So that's kind of one idea I've been having. Another part of it is, in the whole win-win, pay for your data, is I want to start going to companies, and of course it's going to have to be newer companies, and saying, look, subscribe to us, but we also get equity for that. So let's say Math Easy is $50K a month is the subscription to get a strategy person, a design person, user experience person, writer, XYZ, whatever. Then you do the work, right? But let's say it's $50K a month. Let's say Mass Ideation says, okay, we're going to take 40 a month and we're basically investing 10 in your idea. So now we're a $120,000 a year investor in your business. We're going to take equity for that because we could have got paid that, but instead we've reinvested into your business. That comes from slicing pie. So that's my overall trajectory of Mass Ideation. Right now I'm doing pay as you go. But as an idea, if you are coming up at the end, if you have an idea, whatever it is, the first step, and this is going to be in the book now, and it wasn't before as much, you have to pick a business model that a customer is going to accept. And you have to understand the pros and cons of them. And when you do that, then that will help you understand how to build and grow the business. For instance, Netflix. Netflix knew from the start, the more content in their library, even when it was just CDs and DVDs that they were sending you, the more likely you were to resubscribe. So, what do? They start acquiring, licensing more and more and more. They got you to a subscription level where now they know they can have $100 million a month in revenue. All right, so now we're not only going to keep the old model of acquiring licenses, but we are going to make our own content where we reap 100% of the reward, and the license agreement doesn't run out. So now they're making their own movies, their own series, and they know how to make it. How? Because they looked at all the data based on all the other content that wasn't theirs, and they put algorithms together to say, oh, a lot of people like The Office. We're going to make stuff with that lead actor that is similar in nature, that is contextual to right now. And then they made Space Force. And Space Force, I'm sure, is doing well, right? So, and that came from understanding someone else's content. So this is where they got the data of someone else's content and used it for their own benefit. And that's where the world is going. That really is the way the world is going. Data is everything. So whatever business model you choose, understand that data is what's going to power it. And if in the book Subscribed, you should definitely check it out. I'm going to have a link in the description. What you understand is people don't subscribe to what you're giving them. They subscribe to the result of what you're giving them. So for instance, Netflix, I know no matter how much TV time I have in a month, I can fill it with just having Netflix. So I'm willing to pay that. I don't even know what it is anymore. Whenever they say it's growing, I say, no problem, go. Right? Because I know, and I watch probably less TV than most, but when I'm in binge time and I'm like, I don't feel like working, I know Netflix has enough content that I'll be okay with. I don't know that on Disney Plus. You know, I don't know that on Hulu. I don't subscribe to those. I'm sure Hulu is closer than Disney Plus because it's been around longer. And they are the same way. They're on the same exact trajectory. But then if you look at another streaming platform like Sling TV, which is another one I have subscribed to, And every now and then I stop because I'm only really looking for one or two shows. Ancient Aliens is one of them. Whenever I see one of my shows that I come back and I watch is down for a long time, I'm like, I'm not going to subscribe to this. For what? Right? So that kind of brings you back to the like cost benefit of the consumer. Netflix, I've never felt that. Never felt like, oh, it's not enough on here. Never. And now even more. Like I said, quarantine, I feel like 5 things a day were coming out. So as an entrepreneur, as a person with an idea, the key to start is say, which business model? Some business models are really reliant on the idea, right? Like certain things you can't not pay as you go. But even that, I'm starting to challenge with the people I work with and with myself. I'm really trying to say there has to be a way, because I even caught myself even with this show. I've been saying I should do this show for many, many, many years, and then today I was like, wow, this show is really doing well. I'm like, many people are talking to me. I'm able to pass people along that can help each other. I wish I would have done this 7 years earlier. And then I said, oh, but I couldn't have done it 7 years earlier. I couldn't have, because this platform that I'm using right now, StreamYard, again, in the description, please use my link. I get a free month if you use my link. It didn't exist, so I couldn't have done it. Then I was like, no, I could have done it. There was Skype, there was Zoom. I could have recorded those conversations, uploaded it everywhere. So I'm even challenging myself of my past self, saying, look, things were possible. You just weren't looking at them the right way. And my goal is to make sure I'm challenging anyone who I'm working with to think that way in everything we do, because it could be life and death, right? Like Blockbuster is not around anymore because they weren't thinking like Netflix, right? So, and many more examples of that. So again, thank you. If this was helpful at all, please like it any way you see it, because it shows it to more people. I am going to start looking for a group of people to start out this My Ideas Academy with. I already have a few people that have been that said they're willing to do it. So once I have that, I'm going to bring it here, and hopefully we start figuring out how to help each other. Thank you again for watching. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I don't even know what happened. We have to chop that out for the podcast. But thank you for showing me support and watching, whether you watched it live or you watch it 10 years down the line. Thank you, and hopefully I helped you in some way. Have a good day, productive, make your idea happen. Thank you.